Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. I'm Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with a little financial advice in a language that you can understand. And there's a lot of financial confusion that's out there right now with all of the headlines, all of the stories, all of the podcasts and the social media and all of the different opinions that are out there.
So much going on.
We've had a very few busy weeks here in the office, which is usually kind of quiet here in the summertime, but it's been busy.
It's been incredibly busy this summer, yes.
It just amazes me how many people come with varying opinions of what they think they should do or what our opinion is of something based upon what they heard.
Well, that's always the case, right? They listen to their friends, they listen to the news, and they get these crazy ideas sometimes because that's what's on the news. And they think they need to make some changes in their investments, or they think the world is going, just down and going to sink, and the U.S. is going out of business.
Yeah, I'm amazed.
I'm not really sure.
I'm amazed sometimes when people will call, they say, I know the market's tanking right now. How bad is it? And
it's been fabulous.
The market's been very good.
So that's the other side to the story. Even though everyone thinks it's really tough out there, the stock market is not showing a decline.
No, economics, the economic profile of the United States is very strong right now.
And it continues to get stronger almost.
Right,
it's not
and a lot of it is based on these, well, what if, or I heard that, one of the things that we look forward to when we're building an investment portfolio for our clients is a strategy that says we're going to invest for the long term. And when we say for the long term, Marion,
we mean long term.
We mean it, right?
Well, and I think a lot of people feel, oh my gosh, I'm retired. I need this money. I need to sell out of all my investments because we can't take any risk. But what they're not looking at is they likely could live 30 more years. And how do you keep up with inflation? That's a bigger risk than, selling out and never having their money fluctuate.
Yeah, think about this. If there's this term called the rule of 72. Right. The rule of 72 says, how long will it take my money to double if I earn X percent? Okay? Right. So we never plan that you're going to earn 10% a year on your investments, though some people seem to think, oh, that's a pretty easy thing to get. It's not, and it's not something we project on. Right. But if you earned 10% a year, your money would double in 7.2 years, right?
That's right.
That's how the math works.
According to the rule.
According to the rule. Now, what about inflation? Inflation, if it's at 3%, if inflation is at 3%, and we generally use 2.5% to 3%.
Right.
How long will it take for the cost of goods to double in value? And that answers about 24, 25 years.
That's right.
So if you're 60 right now and your expenses are $4,000 a month, 25 years from now, it's likely to be $8,000 a month.
You got to keep up with that.
Or income coming in has to grow at that. All these different factors have to grow at that rate. Now, I love it when clients will say to us, well, Marc, my folks didn't live past 80 years old, so I'm not planning on living past 80.
Yeah, well, that's not a great analogy because in reality, people today are living longer just on average than they did 20, 30 years ago. But also, you have no idea. Your parents might have smoked. They might have not taken care of themselves. They might have had certain health issues that didn't get discovered early enough. Medical science has improved so much. And also, longevity expectations have improved so much that we can't count on dying when our parents died.
Right. But
my mother died at 35.
Oh, really? I didn't even realize that.
So there you go. I mean,
and you're expected to live to what, 135?
Yeah, at least.
According to that report that you did?
That's right.
Because she's
And
in such great health.
I think it was only 120.
Yeah, okay.
No, but you know what? I didn't die at 35. So again, you know, and I've lived much longer than that.
Look,
so
what we have for medical science out
Exactly.
there, what we do to take care of ourselves, how much more active we stay. Think about this. 30 years ago, how many different types of exercise equipment and systems and all sorts of things were out there? How often did we talk about going hiking or biking or all of those things?
Even to the gym.
Right, even to the gym.
You know, that was for athletes typically.
And so I thought it was interesting. You know, LPL Financial, our broker-dealer, rolled out a campaign, this If You Could campaign, and we've talked about this a lot on our show. And one of the things that they realized was that the advertising that's designed for retirees is being developed by people in their 20s and 30s. And so people in their 20s and 30s have no idea what it's like to retire. And so they're still using the old pictures of walking on the beach, hanging out at the pool with the grandkids at 65, 75, 80 years old. I know many of you who watch this show are in your 60s to 90s.
Right.
And your picture of retirement is a lot more than just a stroll along the beach, watching the sunset, or hitting a golf ball. There's more to it than that.
And, you know, we did that great seminar years ago, the Age Wave seminars, right? And was that Ken Dykewald, I believe?
Ken Dykewald did that,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a fantastic series, but they had photos of people who were 65 now versus 65, you know, 30 years ago. And when I think of 65, my grandmother at 65, she was old. She looked old. She dressed old.
She dressed in black and white.
Well, that's all you wore, right?
According to the pictures.
Once somebody died, that's all you could wear.
That's all it was black and white.
You cut out the white.
No, well, there was no color film back then, right? So all the pictures that were on the walls were always in black and white. When you look at black and white, everyone looks older.
But they threw up a picture of Sophia Loren at 65, wasn't it?
Yep.
Sophia Loren, and she looked spectacular.
Yep.
You know, you'd give your right arm to look that good.
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's really amazing how things have changed, but it's changed over the long term, over these long periods of time. And a lot of the reactions, the decisions, and the thoughts that people have are based upon what they hear in the moment. And when we plan for your retirement, I want your money to last, we want your money to last long beyond your lifetime.
Right.
But trying to react to news and headlines and social media posts and notifications on your phone, it'll drive you crazy.
And talk about distractions all day, you know, it's crazy.
Think about this. Who do you believe?
Right.
Who do you believe? So, I didn't even mention this to you, but last night, Laura and I decided to watch the documentary on The Biggest Loser.
Oh, did you?
Yes, we watched
on Netflix.
On Netflix,
Yeah.
and it's the story of, we all watched The Biggest Loser, right? And it was 3 40-minute segments. And what was my interest is one of my good friends was actually on The Biggest Loser in season 8, and so he's got cameos in the thing or whatever. But it amazes me how gullible the television watching community is. And now how gullible we are, it makes me think about news and information and everything we hear. You know, people said, oh, well, people watched The Biggest Loser because they were inspired. They said, I see myself like that. Man, if I did what they did, I could lose weight. I could do all this stuff. And they created great people in the TV show, but they also created villains and all these people. And what you learned from the documentary, which didn't come as any surprise to me, is that The Biggest Loser, like any reality show, like any TV show, like any movie, is for entertainment purposes first.
Right, always, right? And they select people according to certain criteria.
Right. It wasn't how heavy you were.
Of course not.
It was your story.
Right.
You know, think about all the people that you see on American Idol.
Right.
There's a lot of great, talented performers out there. But if you don't come with a story that's going to sell on television, forget it. Same thing with the news. They used to invite me on to be on CNBC and CNN and FN. It's a long, long time ago. And I would go into these studios because they'd have the green screen and all that kind of stuff, and they'd ask me questions. Marc, the market's down, 15% today. What do you think the next best move is? And my answer would be, what would my answer be, Marion?
I don't know.
Yep, that's right. Doesn't matter. I don't know. And you know what? That doesn't sell. They stopped inviting me back because I wasn't saying anything extreme. I was saying, what difference does it make? I'm not investing my money for tomorrow or next month or next year. We're investing money for our clients for the long term.
30 years down the road.
Who cares what happens?
So what fun is that? You need to have some kind of pizzazz, give some kind of crazy answer, and then you get invited back.
It's just as someone says, you never see headlines that 99.9% of all planes landed safely today.
Yes.
You don't hear that.
No.
You only hear about the extreme, because that is what sells. When you're watching the news, when you're listening to the radio, whatever it is, it's entertainment first. They have to pull at your heartstrings. And so when you get your social media notifications, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is, anything that comes through, and those headlines capture your attention.
That's right.
You know what the term for that is? It's called clickbait. That's the term.
And once it captures your attention, they continue doing it.
Right.
They come up with new ways to capture your attention once they figure out what you like.
Right. What was the words, what was the phrase that caught your attention?
Exactly.
And that's called algorithms. And that's how media works today. There was a story that came out this past week about how Americans are reading less and less.
Oh, I saw that.
And
yes.
less.
Yeah.
Now,
it's a significant decline. Reading books, though.
That's right. We are
That's
reading
the point.
more words than ever before.
Right.
But we are not reading stories. We're not reading books. We're not reading comprehensive, understandings of things. We're always looking for the quick hit, the soundbite, the headline.
The Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes, right.
Remember Cliff Notes?
Right. So today's Cliff Notes is what? ChatGPT.
Right.
All these artificial intelligence stuff. Where you basically say, write me a synopsis of Moby Dick written in the voice of a third grader, and write it unlike anybody ever has, as if I read it for the first time living in Santa Monica, California. I mean, I'm just making this up. And that's what it will do.
Yeah. And
So
it's amazing.
So the point that I'm trying to make is that many of the pieces of advice that you're getting, that are being offered to you, thoughts that are influencing you, are not, there's not a lot of depth behind it. I was on the phone today with, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I do want to add one thing to that. And the other part of that is, I don't think people recognize that whatever that advice is might not be appropriate for their situation.
That's right.
I mean, you have to remember, this is generalized, incredibly generalized. Your situation might be vastly different than anything you're reading about.
One of the things that we do at Freedman Financial is, we have clients that die. It happens. Or clients that are related to somebody that dies, and we have to guide them along. So this past week I was on the phone with a couple of those beneficiaries who were going to receive money from someone, a relative of theirs, who had just passed away, and the attorney was on the phone. And the discussion was, do we keep the assets the way they are, or do we liquidate them into cash?
So the assets were all invested.
And they've done very well.
Right.
And the attorney piped in with a line that kind of surprised me. And the attorney said, in light of the current political situation, I think you should go to cash. And I didn't want to challenge that position, but in my head I did. And I thought, since when does the political environment, and this political environment, yes, there are polarized opinions on politics, for sure.
On both sides.
But in this political environment, what would lead us to believe that the long-term focus of the economy is in such a position where they should liquidate the portfolio?
Well, the fact of the matter is, does the political situation actually influence portfolio returns?
It can on the short term. It can.
But long term?
But long term? No, look, I can be very much a fan of liquidating a portfolio after someone has passed away, just to simplify it and remove the risk from the portfolio. But that's just risk of stuff that we have no control over.
Right.
But feeling influence that in light of the current political climate, you may want to think about cashing out, I think that's very short-sighted.
It's a short-term philosophy, I think, that, what if something and we have had a lot of volatility because of different tariffs in particular and all, but once again the market has recovered incredibly quickly from any short-term noise that we've heard over the past year.
And why does the term volatility always seem to mean negative returns?
Well, because nobody cares if it's volatile up. Everybody's thrilled when it's volatile in a positive manner. It's only when.
And I love showing reports. And that's one of the things that we can do at Freedman Financial, if you're a client of ours, is we show you historical performance. And you can look at 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year. We can go back to 2000, 25 years. And then you start to look, when you look at that 25-year chart or the 10-year chart or even the 5-year chart, and you put in some of the negative periods of time that happened in this market, whether it was recently the tariff announcements in April, or the financial crisis in 2008, or COVID in 2020, or 9/11, all of these things,
You name it.
they become blips. But at the moment, it felt like this is different, we need to do something.
Right.
And I think the best advice that we offer to our clients, Marion, and it's the reason why we maintain a 99% retention rate with our clients, is because we try to provide rational advice during the most emotional of times.
I just had clients in this morning that reminded me of that they stayed in the market because I reassured them during one of those time frames. I think it was COVID. And they stayed in. They're very pleased that they actually stayed in. So.
But that was not their initial intent, was it?
Oh, absolutely not. Nobody calls us to say, oh, I want to stay in the market when the market's going down.
Right.
Anyone who calls, they have a different philosophy.
And
but that's our job.
Yeah.
To handhold them during those times of uncertainty.
And my feeling is, until you've been through a 3-year cycle with our office, you're not going to get a sense of how we handle things when times are good and times are challenging.
Correct.
Because I think every 3 years, you're going to go through the best of times and the worst of times during that period of time. And all of those best of times and worst of times become smaller and less significant the longer we stay with us.
Absolutely.
But it's the people in the first 3 years that haven't been through it. They don't know how we communicate, and we have to show them how we do it.
Right.
And I think it's something we do really, really well at Freedman Financial.
Absolutely.
And that's what we call financial advice in a language you can understand. Now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning or investment management needs. I hope you'll give us a call. Our phone number, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or you can visit us on the web, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. You can go to the bottom of any page on our website, put in your name and your email address, and you'll get signed up for our free weekly newsletter where we have been providing financial advice in a language you can understand to, 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers these days. And it comes out every Friday for free in your inbox at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. But also, if you want to learn more about what we do, the types of clients we serve, who we are, what our background is, how we communicate with you, it's all on the website. So once again, that website, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you back again next week with more financial advice in a language you can understand. You're listening to and watching Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. Have a great day.
Enjoy.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.